The right wing is annoying, but let's be intellectually honest for once. Their beliefs have inherent value. However, they cannot expect us to respond with level-headed execution when they are throwing attacks and false statements at us like Molotov cocktails to democracy itself. How does creating a border wall and limiting access to legal and safe immigration add freedom and liberty to this country? How is limiting access to healthcare to the point that they have to start buying into dangerous alternative medicine or pay into the hands of big pharmaceutical companies is a pro-life decision? At what point does limiting access to resources to promote safe sex and sexual health in schools become archaic propaganda created to feed the religious idea of purity? Do you honestly think cutting Social Security and Medicare for thousands of blood-borne Americans, veterans, and children is the best interest of the Republican base? I don't think that a party that is centered in freedom of choice, liberty, and freedom would prescribe to the right-wing mantra that is being pushed by the media and the respective elites that own and control that media. You have probably heard the left controls the media. And for the most part, that is, I guess, true if you look at a very narrow scope of it. The left is clean, presentable. We don't tend to ruffle any feathers, and gay people make our TV programs appear fairly woke. But you need to understand that we only control our media. If anything, the left-wing media is a recent byproduct of the pressure and demand from the public. Not because there is a secret left-wing agenda turning all of the frogs gay. However, there has been noted cases of political groups conspiring to influence policy through campaign donations, incognito sponsor advertisements, and even blatant legalized bribery. But we are going to go back a little bit further in time. The public has a tendency to forget that the KKK was a political organization that had great influence on local and national politics during the Jim Crow era. Since the group's inherent secrecy, there is not much data on how many members held positions of power in the general public, but many new findings from relatives and historians tell us that they were members from all walks of life, including positions of political leniency. The one thing that the right can't seem to digest is that groups like this align with their beliefs more than the left, so our beliefs. That speaks volumes for the substance for the beliefs held by the far right and the extreme right. Just because you love your country and want to vote red does not make you equal to these scummy racist groups. Just like saying Hitler was a socialist doesn't make progressives any closer to Nazis. The KKK and other terror groups harbored in the USA are using conservatism and right-wing values, counterculture as a Trojan horse to bring these ideas into civil discourse, hoping that eventually, the more that we talk about giving freedom of speech to things like, say, neo-Nazis, inevitably bring the center of the political spectrum closer to the right. This is their endgame, and it's coming to a cataclysmic conclusion if we do not stop it. This is not a hate video about the right. I honestly think you guys can pull through this wave of deception and fear-based hate with the right push. Think about the morals of the party that you belong to and what it means to hold the belief in integrity. Now think about how your rock-hard, throbbing integrity reacts to the slightest criticism from some spooky girl on the internet. Counterculture exists within political discourse and belongs to only those fighting to break the status quo, only if it favors those in power. We are not just fighting for the sake of political street cred, or as a recent troll of mine said, to win. Winning an argument for the sake of owning them is absolutely childish and not productive democratic behavior. Arguing for the conclusion of determining each argument's value and its relative use is productive. But you do not see our buddy Ben Shapiro arguing from that perspective very often, now do we? Liberals owned, once again. What is with their obsession with owning people? Must be the same reason they're still obsessed with the Confederacy. I feel confident voices like this will die in the marketplace of ideas that they champion so highly. The liberal-run media is the first of many examples of that. For decades, the right wing controlled legislation, controlled industries, and had a stranglehold on the public perception of civil rights. Throughout the genesis of America, people from all walks of life fought for the liberty and the freedom that is the white American dream. Always just out of reach, but a hell of a price to pay if you are to get there. Housing industry leaders, the people responsible for the segregation of neighborhoods in major cities. People like, say, Trump's father, placing redlining projects preventing black families from moving into the suburbs. That man's son, either through cruel coincidence or strategic nepotism, this is the world that we are expecting minorities to pick their bootstraps up from. That is not what I believe real, authentic, red-blooded Republicans would ever be in favor of. I also, even as a lily-livered lefty myself, believe that there can be integrity restored to the right once the base can find its footing in lawmakers and candidates that embody these values that the Republican Party in its infancy was rooted in. But people like Ben Shapiro are in our way, insisting that winning an argument is more constructive than having a rational and human discussion about the needs of a country and its people. Even I, as a raging, tree-hugging lefty, can relate to the ideas the right pushes towards. I like the idea of freedom becoming before order. I think that two adult humans can raise a human in whatever fashion they please as long as they vaccinate them. Financially, I have a lot of opinions from my home country of Canada that would be considered conservative if here, but to you, they look very classically liberal. And I do not mean the classical liberal as in I don't want to say I'm conservative on TV kind of classical liberal. I mean classical in the economic terms. Sticking to the ongoing market trends to further capital gain for corporations that are tied to the economy itself is a necessary part of the capitalist structure. Preserving these factors will ensure that we maintain functional capitalism while adopting socialist economic systems such as having a job and receiving a tax return as a result of said job. As one example. The European brand of socialism works hand in hand with capitalism, free markets, and private property. The major difference between Europe and America is that Europeans pay far higher taxes to help a wide array of state-funded social services, including free universal healthcare, free education through college, state pensions, extensive unemployment benefits, more vacation days, and a generous benefits for mothers and children. Link in the description to that source. Preserving these ideas in my country does not make you a socialist, or a democratic socialist, or a communist, or even a particularly left-wing. Some of our best prime ministers have come from all over the political spectrum, and that is just how it should be. I believe that there can be a great Republican president someday that will truly break the mold of what the donors pay for in a candidate, just like the left has with Bernie Sanders. Grassroots Republicans should love Bernie Sanders. Helping the little guy is what Southern hospitality and red-blooded American values are all about. Raising people to a high standard so everyone can have a natural shot at the American dream regardless of where you came from, what you look like, and who you worship. Maybe I'm wrong about Republicans. Maybe Stan Smith and Hank Hill lied to me about what it means to be a Republican, and I have to believe that that's true. Because people like Stan Smith and Hank Hill don't exist. They're just a caricature of all the positive traits of what it means to be an American. And somehow being an American is somehow being a patriot is somehow tied with being a Republican, and I find that weird. I have my problems with the right. I outline them every other goddamn video. I don't like what the Republican Party is and qualifies someone to be a right-winger. I do not relate to their tired demagogues or their overused talking points. I cannot stand the countless, endless contradictions over trivial, non-political matters, over public opinion, and of course limiting resources and education and freedom to the people farther left than they are comfortable, or people that look different than they do. Fix your shit, Republicans. I gave you so much to work with here. I am giving you more than any left-wing communist cuck on YouTube is ever going to give you. count this as another win for your portfolio. This will come at the end of the video, so I apologize for all the apologetic language towards the right in this, if you are a fellow leftist listening to this. So yeah, let's, without further ado, this is another video with Spooky B here, the Spooky Lib, and if you like that video, subscribe to my channel. I am thinking about doing live streaming. I don't really want to keep you too long, so yeah, have a great day.